Chapter 132. Splitting Up. Summary. They've made it into the party. Time to split up and get things moving. The Gala was bustling with life. Katsuki found it disgusting. These people were here to buy things that were never meant to be sold, things people had died protecting, and nobody thought twice about it. He had looked into what they were supposed to be retrieving, to make sure they weren't being tricked into playing the part of some two-bit criminals. The relic the fluffy-maned race had asked them for was their oldest surviving relic, from before the Great Collapse, and held incomprehensible religious value. Katsuki didn't care much for the crystal figure, but people had died in an attempt to keep it safe during its recent transport between temples. Given the artifact was somewhere aboard the shipwreck of a ship, they died in vain. But that wouldn't be true for much longer. Scanning the open room, Katsuki watched as Mina and Ovati left down one of the few hallways leading deeper into the ship. Mina's blue dress glittered, drawing the attention of more security guards than the ones escorting the two supposed Alona to the bathroom. The bulky aliens, dressed in navy blue tactical gear, letting them fade into the corners shadowed with heavy curtains. Weren't all occupied by the wandering Deathworlders, though. While Katsuki and Ochako were settled on the other side of the room, they stayed focused on their section of the floor. They just had to make sure that's where their focus stayed. Who had time to search every dark spot along the wall when there was a show right in front of them? Ochako stumbled towards a guard who moved further from the wall. The gala hadn't been going long, yet plenty of drinks had been passed around. While it wasn't actually alcohol, it was the safe equivalent for most species. Because what else were you going to do at a party with a bunch of horrible people but do your best to not be fully there? The more tipsy the guests, the less they'd think about spending their life savings on something they didn't need. The drinks might as well be vanilla extract for how much it affected humans, but everyone else didn't know that. In the short time since the gala began, Ochako had drunk enough glasses of the bubbly drink that she was getting looks of concern from more than one guest. No one questioned her unsteady gait or the dazed squint of her eyes. "Oh, I'm sorry," Ochako said, as she stumbled straight into the side of the guard. The drink in her hand went splattering all over the concerned woman, who seemed to be the only thing holding Ochako up from spilling onto the floor. Hands now free of her drink, Ochako lightly grabbed at their jacket as she leaned into the woman's grasp. "Thank you for catching me," she slurred. "Oi!" Katsuki barked, stalking up to the pair. His voice carried through their half of the room, drawing more eyes to their altercation. "Get your fucking hands off her!" "I'm sorry, the guard started. "You better be fucking sorry." He leaned into her personal space. The woman eyed him wearily, gaze flicking to the side pleadingly. "I think your companion has had too much to drink." "And you think that gives you the right to touch her?" "It's fine," Ochako waved, one hand still around the woman's waist. "We're all good." "Like hell we are," Katsuki said, glare dripping venom that seemed to burn the guard. This seemed to be enough for her, and she started trying to peel Ochako off her side. Katsuki's heart stuttered for a second, eyeing Ochako's hand still locked on the woman. It was empty, but had she had the time to find what she needed? "Aww," Ochako crooned, meeting his eyes. "I told you. We're all good." The message was clear. His chest loosened. Ochako let herself be transferred to Katsuki's hold, and he led them over to an innocuous spot by the wall. As soon as his hands were off her, she slid down to the floor. The delicate skirt pooled around her, obscuring the vent she was leaning against from view. Katsuki kept half an eye on her as she slipped the data pad she'd swiped through the great opening, the darkness accepting it without a word. He did his best to exude "don't fuck with me" energy as he glared out to the crowd. There was a tap on his foot, and he looked down to see all the screws had been secured. Ochako's smile was more satisfied than her faked dazedness. He smiled. "Is it living up to your expectations so far?" She let her head fall against his leg with a giggle. "It is." When the bathroom door closed behind them, Mina fished the remaining comm from a hidden pocket and handed it to Ovoti. He fumbled a thanks as he put it in. There was something comforting about his presence here. Mina wasn't sure if it was just his flustered sunshine demeanor, or the fact someone so clearly not used to this was here at all. The stakes really weren't all that high, and the way he stuck to her side like a nervous kitten helped remind her of that. "We're all wired up," Mina said into her calm. Ovati jumped at the sound before flushing a blue blush and staring down the counter of sinks. "It's about time," said Kudit. Mina rolled her eyes. She honestly couldn't tell how the man felt about them, but he was the communications head on the ship, so he was their designated point of contact for the mission. "Tech squad is nice and snug in the vents," Denki chimed. "And we've got the data pad from Choco and Kat." The nickname elicited a huff from who Mina assumed was Katsuki, but given he was still in the thick of the gala, he couldn't reply back. "Did you spot any rooms on your walk that might have access to the mainframe?" Mei asked. "The ship's blueprints aren't labeled." "Yeah, actually," Mina said. "I think there's a security room down a hallway right off the one we were taken down. So, probably like left middle, a few minutes away from the main room." Izuku hummed. "Oh, I think I see what you're talking about. They brought you to a weirdly faraway bathroom if that's the case." "They likely wanted us away from the other guests," said Ovoti, who was back to looking in Mina's direction. "Most people aren't too comfortable sharing a space with Deathworlders." "Well, joke's on them, because we're in," Mei cackled. "I think the one meant to be watching the camera in this room is out there talking with your escort." "Do you have a lock on the location of the auction items?" Kudit asked. Yeah, don't get your spleen in a twist," Mei said. "What's a spleen?" Kudit muttered, but Mei plowed forward. "The items are spread through a couple of rooms in the middle of the ship. They've got an efficient organization system, though, so we know exactly which one our target is in." "We're back in the vents," Izuku says. "It'll be a bit before we make it there. Mina and Avati, you two can probably head back to the party now." "Gotcha," Mina said, and with a tap, the microphone was put dormant. "You ready to get back to it?" she asked Ovati. "Yes," he said, smoothing out his suit jacket. Mina smiled as her chest warmed. Things were going pretty well so far, just as Ochako had planned. Mina could see the vision now when Ochako had insisted heisting was a form of self-care. Quickly washing her hands, because she wasn't going to have anyone think she'd gone to the washroom without washing her hands, Mina stepped out into the hall. Their original escort, a man with bright green facial markings and what might have been horns but is probably hair, was huddled with another person. The other was smaller, with similar features, and staring right at Mina. She came to a stop as her heart rate picked up. The smaller's gaze was piercing, roving over her like he was confirming some suspicion. Had they been found out? Did someone recognize them as the Wild Hunt? They'd thought the general lack of eldritch energy and identifying clothes would be enough to prevent that, but maybe they'd been wrong. The smaller spoke. "Are you Mina?" Mina slid into a firmer stance, settling her weight off her still healing ankle. From Oxyonics Felions? Mina's brain blanked. That was the name of her old dance group, from all the way back on Oxyus. Was she getting recognized as a dancer? Coming back to herself, she realized she hadn't said anything. Yes, I am. Are you a fan? The alien bounced in place slightly. I am. I saw you live 3 times, and it was amazing. I've been a fan of the Oxyon Aphelion since my friend introduced me, but you joining turned me into a super fan. Will you sign my clipboard? Suddenly, Mina was as flustered as Ovoti. She took the offered marker and board, letting her wrist fall into the familiar motion of signing her name, with that little added flourish she developed for fans. She couldn't believe that she was getting recognized as a member of a dance group, while on an undercover heist to steal back something in exchange for information on the trafficking group that had abducted her and her crew from Earth. The Oxyon Aphelions weren't even that well known once you got a few star systems away from Oxyus. Their escort nudged the other. Say thank you. But they didn't react, still holding up the clipboard like it was worth more than gold. Sorry about my little brother. He gets a little too excited sometimes. It's no problem. Mina waved off, still a little dazed. I'm always happy to meet a fan, though this was a bit of an unexpected place to find one. That'd be my fault, the man chuckled. This nerd thinks about your dance group often enough that I recognize you when I saw you. I think he'd smother me in my sleep if I knew you were here and didn't tell him. He gave his brother another nudge, finally knocking him back to reality. I think you better go back to work, and so do I. I'll take you two back to the party now. Mina smiled back at the younger man as they walked off. Yeah, this heist was turning out pretty well so far.